My name is Lauren Hannah Murphy, and I'm really excited that we have our first Filmmakers at Google event today. And I'm really excited to introduce Doug Hannah, who is my younger brother. So I think it's safe to say I have known him his whole life. And he, from the moment that my dad got our first camcorder, he was making movies of one sort or another. Sometimes he was in front of the camera, sometimes he was behind. So it's always been pretty obvious that he was going to do something with film. There was a short period of time when he had me taping him as he would climb out from our second floor and climb down the tree because he thought he wanted to be a stuntman. But that didn't last too long, and he went to school for film and now has been doing a lot of editing and filmmaking. So he's here today without any of our home videos, thankfully, but has his short film, Good News, Oklahoma, and I'll let him introduce that. So please join me in welcoming Doug Hannah.
Thank you guys. That was a very good introduction. Way more personal than any of the other introductions I've had so far. Well, thank you guys all for coming and watching my short film. We made this last year at the end of December, so this has been around for about a year. We've been doing the festival circuit, so I think we've screened at about 9 film festivals so far. It won Best Comedy Short at the Atlanta Short Fest, which was our first festival, so right off the bat, it was really pretty exciting. I work for our White Collar, which is a USA TV show, and the writer is also a writer for White Collar. And about at the end of season 2, we were talking about what we were going to do during our break, and I was wanting to direct a short because I'm trying to kind of finagle my way out of editing since I'm getting kind of sick of sitting in a dark room all the time, and getting into more of the directing side of things. And she had a few shorts, and she pitched me a couple ideas, and she talked about this idea called Good News, Oklahoma. And instantly, I really knew I wanted to make it. I won't go too much into the plot now since we're about to watch it, but it really, I'm pretty addicted to news and watch a lot of news and stuff, and so this was one of the reasons why I wanted to make it, and I'll go more into the other reasons why I wanted to make it after you see it. But yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Channing Powell's who wrote it, really talented writer, and it was really fun getting to work with her. And if you're watching this online, it's just going to be a trailer. I can't put the whole movie online because a lot of film festivals will only accept movies that are not screened online. They want it to have, some type of premiere status more than anyone just being able to watch it. But all you guys can watch it now. And then from here, we're going out to Denver next weekend for the Festivus Film Festival. So we're excited about that. But without further ado, here's the short film. It's 18 minutes, 1756. It's called Good News, Oklahoma.
I'm talking about a different kind of news program. One that doesn't sensationalize fear, but promotes happiness. I'm talking about a news program brought to you by Sissy and Shaggy, your local alternative news source.
Men from all over the country have flooded the organization with their semen donations.
Truly an inspiring gift, Shaggy.
People really like good news.
Bad news, Oklahoma.
Why would a news station with so-called good intentions incite so much so-called bad behavior?
You have to see this footage be camera uploaded to our FTP site. Amazing.
Fuck me, there's death of innocence on another network.
It is our job to tell a story in the face of adversity. We're journalists.
I went to business school.
What you're saying is that Good News Oklahoma is anti-American?
That's a good way to put it.
If they're gonna yell at us, we're gonna yell back louder.
How can anyone hear?
Good News Oklahoma?
Even violence isn't the answer.
Boom. Lesson learned.
The hard way.
You're in good country.
It is our right to pursue the American dream while suppressing it for others.
Stu, that's a story. We'll be back after these messages.
So that was Good News, Oklahoma. So like I said, we shot that back in December. It was a 5-day shoot. We had 2 cameras. We shot on the Red.
What is it?
The Red. Yeah, I don't know if anyone follows. It's just a kind of camera. A lot of the lower budget, and actually I guess more TV shows are using the Red now to shoot. It gives a lot. It has a sensor in it that shoots a very wide range of everything, so it gives you a lot of control after in post-production to really tweak the colors and stuff, and you can add shadows and make areas dark and stuff like that. Coming from an editorial standpoint, I get a little geeky when it comes to the tech side of stuff like that. So I'll talk a little bit about like Good News Oklahoma, its concept and everything. From the start, I get the question often of how we chose Oklahoma. And beside it just sounding good in the title, Good News Oklahoma, we obviously was thinking of more conservative states in the U.S., and the more research I was kind of doing about it, I found that Oklahoma was the only state where during the 2008 election, every single district had voted for McCain, which to me just seemed crazy. Having grown up in Chicago, gone to school in New York, and then living in California, everyone was like obsessed with Obama. So to think of an entire state that just wasn't interested in that seemed very different. And so, I mean, it goes back and forth between Oklahoma and Utah as being the 2 most conservative states. And so Good News Oklahoma sounds better than Good News Utah as well.
Utah has Park City, which rules.
Yeah, exactly. So that was part of the reason we wanted to make it, was about Oklahoma. And then when I had the script and was going over it, I met someone from Oklahoma, and I explained to her the basic idea of it, a liberal that makes, everything that you just saw. And she was just like, thought I had to make it, having grown up her entire life in Oklahoma, and her brother still lived out there and was like living in a town of 500 people. And something that I always wondered was about people that vote against their own interests kind of thing. And so her younger brother that still lived there was, talking to these people in the town of 500 and slowly being like, oh, well, if you don't have health insurance, maybe you should start voting a different way. So that was all kind of fueling the fire for this. Obviously, I didn't want to make the short too overtly political, though. I think it's really easy to make something that has all your ideas and beliefs in it, and then people get really turned off by it really quickly because then they just see it as a liberal movie. So we took a lot of the jokes out. There was like, originally there were some jokes about just like broad stereotypes about like Tea Partiers and stuff like that, and we kind of focused it a little more. So it was more accessible for everybody kind of, so people would just take it for the entertainment value and not feel like they were being attacked. And I did show it at the Tulsa.
How's that gone over?
Yeah, it's actually gone. I was going to say is we showed it at the Tulsa Film Fest, and like on the ride over there, I'm sitting on the flight, and I was sitting next to a guy who was from Oklahoma who had never been on a plane before, and he was like freaking out and telling me to talk to him the whole time. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But no one, like when I showed it to everyone, now given people that go to a festival, a film festival, are obviously a little more artistic, maybe liberal, you could say. Again, I'm stereotyping, but everyone was really open and, didn't feel like they were being attacked as being from Oklahoma or anything like that, and if anything related to it, and wanted to know where we got actors that had Oklahoma accents and stuff. But which kind of leads me to the next thing is that we did film this in LA. We lucked out or didn't luck out where the week we were filming in December it was raining the entire week. So that's why all the exteriors all kind of gray and stuff, which actually helped us out a lot. One palm tree snuck in there. I don't know if anyone caught it. But it's just in the background of outside of the house. He walks by a palm tree. I think that kind of covers it. Maybe I'll open it up to questions. Yeah, does anyone have any questions?
So how long was the shoot itself?
Oh, yeah. The shoot was 5 days. I completed the whole thing. It was about 4 months. I probably could have gotten it done in 3. It's one of those things with any short film, if you ever talk to a director, they'll take up as much time as they have. So if I had 5 months, it would have been 5 months. If I had 6, it would have probably taken me 6. But a 5-day shoot, it was pretty good. The original script was 25 pages. So we were shooting about 5 or 6 pages a day. If you compare that to like White Collar, which our scripts on that show I think are about 50 to 55 pages, and they shoot those in 7 days. So they're shooting about anywhere from 6.5 to 10, 11 pages a day. But that's, you know, obviously with a full professional crew. We did have a crew of about 35 people, which for an independent short for this was really good. It was just one of those things where since we were shooting with 2 cameras, all of a sudden our camera department was really big, and then because of that, it just kind of, everything built on top of it. Any other questions?
How do you finance it?
Me and the writer really just wanted to make it, and so we just split it. Yeah, and called in every favor of everyone I've ever worked with. Our producer was amazing. She's an actress out in LA, and she's been working out there for like 15 years, and so the majority of the actors were all cast just through friends of hers that are all working actors. A lot of those guys do a lot of commercials, so you might recognize them from random commercials here and there.
So they gave you good rates?
Yeah, the best rate they could possibly give, which was free. Yeah, exactly. The actors were all amazing. We really lucked out. Myself coming from an editing background and into directing, I kind of had the misconception of like, oh, well, I watch performances all day long and choose the good ones, so I thought, I'll know if they have a good performance because I'm used to watching it. And then I kind of got on set and was like, you know, when you're creating something from scratch, it's totally different than when I'm just sitting in my little edit bay watching performances. And that's something I've been working on now with taking acting classes and stuff, but I hadn't done that at the time, but really was lucky to have such good actors that they're able to do the script analysis and really know what was going on. And I think they all did a really fantastic job and really understood the tone of the whole movie and did a great job.
So what motivates them to do it for free, even though you might barely know them?
I was wondering the same thing, and talking to my friend, it's like actors, they just want to act. And like Sarah Yu, who's our lead, unfortunately, you know, in Hollywood, it's hard for, you know, an Indian actress to be the lead of stuff. I mean, she's constantly working. She's a really great actress, but she was a series regular on Sons of Tucson, and that was one of the few spots, you know, where they had a leading Indian woman, but it's not very common. And then the other ones, you know, it was just a fun script. You know, it actually said something as opposed to just being about nothing, which I guess is often the case. So, yeah, it was really nice of them. Yeah.
So it seemed like you're targeting both kind of the over sensationalism side of news and the right wing slant, and I'm wondering if you could sort of, you know, tease out, you know, sort of what % of the target is.
Yeah.
For those facets.
The original script was pretty 50-50. And I had decided I wanted to lean more towards the news aspect of it. And then the kind of right-wing stuff that was more of just like what was going on, I wanted that to be more of the backdrop and less of what the movie was about. Like I said, I didn't really want to feel like anyone was being attacked, except I guess sensationalized news, which is more of a thing than a person. And yeah, like I said before, I'm pretty obsessed with news. I watch probably more news than is healthy for me, to the point where when I like was traveling out of the country and came back and they were still talking about the same stuff, like with the Republican primaries and stuff, I realized that life kind of goes on.
Have you had any feedback from people who work in newsrooms?
Not really, actually. No. That's what I was thinking. No one really has said much. I don't know how many people have seen it from the news side of stuff, which is interesting. Yeah.
Was 18 minutes, is that kind of the expectation from the festival circuit? Is that what just felt natural from the script? Or?
Yeah. 18 minutes is long for a short, and it struggles to get into festivals. The ideal time for a short to screen at festivals would be like 7 minutes, because they try to put as many short films together in a like 120-minute program. So if they take my film, then that's 2 or 3 shorts that they're not able to put in. The script was 25 pages, so typically it's a minute per page. So the first cut was about 22, 23 minutes, and then we just started cutting, tried to get it as short as possible. We had to cut down to 15 minutes at one point, but then it was just like stuff was flying by, and there was no moment to breathe or really know what was going on. We had cut that scene at the nighttime scene, where they're talking in the kitchen kind of thing with the Chinese food, which kind of explains what's going on and gives you a moment to breathe, because everything else is just kind of coming right at you, which was a choice to have everything else moving really fast, because I wanted to have that feeling of the news, the fast moving of that type of stuff. And that was a good, that was one reason why we shot with 2 cameras, because we had a ton of camera angles, so I was able to, when editing it, keep the pace going pretty fast. So even though it is 18 minutes, I think it feels shorter, maybe like 10 minutes, hopefully. That's my argument to any film festivals. Yeah.
I'm curious, excuse me, what the dynamic is like for you watching your movie in a room with people who've never seen it before. Like, how did we do? Do we laugh at the right time? Or have there been things where like you expected it to be, felt one way and it wasn't? Or
it's always really refreshing, because I'm definitely my worst critic. So it's like one editor explains it to me, like whenever I edit any episode, this film especially, I know where all the dead bodies are hidden, meaning I know all the little cheats I did, I know all the bad stuff that was there that I cut out. So it's like watching something, it's sometimes really painful, but watching it with an audience is really refreshing and nice, and there is a joke there. It is funny,
I don't think anybody spotted the palm tree.
Yeah, no one spotted the palm tree, so exactly. Yeah, so no, it's always really nice to watch. And I mean, this isn't quite huge, but it's always fun for me to see it on the big screen like that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, in the back.
So, not knowing much about the film industry, I'm curious what you do to maximize viewership of an 18-minute film. Because I can think of a bunch of things. There's traditional distribution routes. There's putting it up on YouTube and making money off the ads. You could do what Louis C.K. did and just make a free download.
Yeah.
And sell your movie for like $3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I'd love to be able to, get other people seeing it, but short of doing some research to figure out which film festival that it's playing at next, I don't know how to kind of help you.
Yeah.
Your art.
Well, that's a great question. I guess I'll take kind of the long answer to get there. The original goal of making it, despite wanting to make it, was just for my own practice as an editor trying to be a director. And then the next step, was kind of getting it out there. And so the festival route was just a way to get it in front of as many big audiences as possible. And unfortunately, because I'm going the festival route, I can't put it online yet. That's like a clause in pretty much every festival is it can't be online anywhere. So, I mean, we're going to be wrapping up the whole festival circuit around October of this year. And then I guess I'll start thinking of the next thing, of how to get it out to even a bigger audience.
Movie channels
like IFC or stuff like that, they show shorts, but most of the time, it's like ones that have gone on to win Sundance and stuff like that, which we're not quite at that level, unfortunately. So I guess the answer would be to please stand by. And it will be out online come October, it'll be more widely available. It is online now, but you have to know a password. And maybe if you come by after, I'll tell you it.
Is there a list of where it will be screened? So
the next one is next weekend in Denver, like I said, and then after that, we're still waiting to hear from about, I think, like 20 more fests, possibly. We submitted to about 60. It's been in 8 so far.
And do you have to pay to get yourself there for those, or what?
Yeah, technically. To get to the festivals and stuff, and then just depending on the festival, some get you out there, some put you up. A whole variation of stuff. Yeah.
Your comment just now about this being practice to some extent,
yeah.
Not being a director. How do you feel like it was great practice? Like, do you feel like you're in a better spot now to do something else, and do you have other projects now that you're working on because of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was great practice. It definitely showed me kind of my weaknesses, which was working with actors. And so I've been able to take a proactive, approach to it. Then now I'm taking lots of classes and that type of stuff, and talking to more actors and that type of stuff. And yeah, I learned a ton. My producer would always give me a hard time. I'd be like, "Oh, let's try this lens," or like, that size lens. Oh, wait, no, maybe let's switch. Okay, let's switch back. She'd be like, "Oh, first-time director," kind of poke me a little bit. So yeah, just as much practice as possible. I've been shadowing a lot of directors on other hour-long dramas, ones that I've edited episodes of, just to get as much experience on set as possible. Having edited, I have that whole side of it locked down, right? I know angles, I know what I need at this point, but it's more of the on-set day-to-day stuff. And then in terms of future projects, there's a whole bunch of ideas, writers I've been talking to, and the plan is I edit a pilot for the same creator as White Collar in March, and then I go on to do the next season of White Collar, then I'll have time off again in October. So I'm hoping to kind of prep something while I'm working, and then shoot something hopefully next October, another short, and then go from there. Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of piggybacking away off Seth's comment earlier about, did we laugh at the right times and whatnot?
Yeah.
And I guess, I think probably safe to say everyone's audience is, fairly different in many different ways. But, who would you describe as your target customer? Think about this is, every movie is a piece of, your advertising, you're making a product to sell to someone. If this were going to the box offices, you didn't have the luxury of a big production studio working behind you saying, this is our research, this is what people in America want right now. How did you figure that out? And how is it hard at making a short as an independent filmmaker to know, is this going to be funny to everyone, or is this just my group of 25 working on this to find it hilarious?
Yeah. I guess ultimately we wanted to open it up to everybody. And that's why I was sensitive when it came to poking fun at Tea Partiers or something like that, or liberals or conservatives or whatever. And I just wanted everyone to enjoy it. As in the specific age, I guess I ultimately would have wanted everyone to love it, but knew that, it was based off of my sensibilities, so it's probably going to be more geared younger, not to say that only young people will get it. But for example, my mom watched it, and she just watched it with a friend of hers, and she didn't get that it was a comedy. But
it was a tragedy.
Yeah, she said that she didn't like the swears in it. So that's something that I don't always think about, that excluding people just by having, the F word in it a bunch of times, and that, people will kind of tune out because they don't like that type of language. And that's hard for me to kind of remember. But something that now I'm more aware of. But yeah, so I guess ultimately I hope everyone will get it, but I realize that not everyone will.
Was there a trade-off kind of when you realize between different demographics you're going to have to do different things? And it's got to be pretty hard to make a movie that, if you have a particular passion, it's going to appeal to all those demographics and psychographics.
Yeah. Ultimately, I just feel like I have to make a movie that I myself get, and I have to play to my sensibilities. Because if I'm trying to make a movie for 60-year-olds, I'm not going to be able to do it. I just don't. I could think I know what they would want, but ultimately, I would be probably way off. I would think, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, but it's just not what I'm comfortable with working in. Yeah.
So again, not being at all familiar with the industry, and I hear you talking about taking a script and making choices. And can you describe in a little more detail your role, what you were personally doing and responsible for, and a little bit what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, totally. And if I use words that seem a little out there, it's like my sister said in the introduction, I've been doing this stuff since I was like 15, seriously, so sometimes I use terminology that I don't even realize is kind of like in terminology, but I'm just used to using it. So as a director, starting with the script, when I first got it, I first just read it just to enjoy it. But after that, it's like, all right, which parts were working for me? Which parts weren't totally working? What did I get? What parts didn't I really get? And then I kind of started just by asking questions of the writer. What were we meaning here? Could we try maybe something here? And then as it kind of got shaped more specifically, I was adding jokes. I just wanted to add more to the comedy. And then further along, as I started going through the script and deciding like camera angles and really looking at transitions of how are we getting from this scene to the next scene. And so it was at that point where, for example, I knew I was going to want to come out of TV monitors, go across, and then go into the next monitor. And I thought that would be a real organic way to get from one scene to another. So I then had her add lines to help cover those transitions. I was add those little bumpers up next on OK Action News. I had her add those, and we just actually we had about a page and a half, and at the end of that shoot day, we just had them stand next to each other and go through and do all of them. Yeah, do all of them, and I knew I was going to probably want to sprinkle that throughout. At that point, I didn't exactly know where I was going to put them. I just knew I wanted some extra material
that
to
whole
do.
Editor perspective.
Yeah. So that's more the script writing, but in terms of like how the words were spoken, the whole structure, she really was instrumental in that. Like and I was trying to cut the script down because I wanted as many days to shoot as little as possible. So I was like, oh, do we really need that? Do we need that? And for example, I was I guess, really wanting her to cut that nighttime scene. I was like, we don't need it. We have all this information already, and she really fought for it. And then as it turns out, we needed that scene really badly. Otherwise, the whole pace, I think people just wouldn't even understand what the movie was about without it. And so it was that writer mentality more that I'm lacking in experience that helped a lot.
So does the writer hate you now?
I don't. No, she does not hate me. Luckily. Yeah, we'll wait for her Q&A, and then maybe she'll say differently. No, she's very good with notes, and I think working in a professional hour-long dramas, you have to be good with taking creative criticism or constructive criticism. And then I'll just going then onto the set. It's choosing the angles with your DP. And then honing the performances in, director of photography with whoever's shooting it.
You said 2 cameras, so there's 2 people operating cameras plus a DP?
Yeah, and then in addition to that, there's 2 focus pullers, so the camera operators don't even deal with the focus. So per camera, there's 2 people. So yeah, and then the DP is, the director of photography is with me at the monitors, kind of watching 2 of the monitors, so you have your A camera and B camera, and so you're watching both at the same time, which is nice because then you can do cross coverage. So if the actors start improvising and stuff, you have close-ups on both of them. Although we had 2 cameras but 1 lens package, meaning we couldn't just zoom in like on like a video camera. You had your different sized lenses, and to cut costs, we were only using 1 lens package, so we couldn't ever do 2 close-ups the exact same size since we didn't have 2 of the same lenses. Yeah.
So you said that you needed the scene in the night and stuff. Did you try different versions of the movies different versions of the short with different audience to see how they reacted to the scene, the lack of the scene, or?
If I had more time, I probably would have started doing that, showing it to bigger audiences. A film I had done in college was a documentary, and I showed it to a lot of people and got a lot of notes, and I found my head just got clouded where I didn't even know which notes to listen to and which notes not to listen to at that point. So with this film, I took a different approach and really kept it very small, where I just only had maybe a dozen people altogether look at it, people I've worked with and stuff like that. And I really kept the creative part of the editing only to 2 weeks. So the first week I did my cut, showed it to some people, did some notes, showed it to a couple more people, did a few more notes. Until then, I knew I would keep editing it for months and months if I kept showing it to more and more people. So I kind of kept it small, kind of closed it and said, all right, time to move on. And so I wasn't really trying to respond to a lot of different people's ideas. Yeah.
What was the total amount of footage you recorded between the two cameras that you had to cut down to ultimately the 18 minutes?
I don't totally know. I would guess I was probably shooting about 3 hours a day, so probably about 15 hours of footage. I wasn't doing a ton of takes. I was probably doing about 2 or 3 takes per setup, meaning for each size, each position where the camera was in, up to 3 times like that. But we were moving pretty fast. We were trying to really stick to that TV schedule of just kind of going.
So for one scene, you would then shoot it with several different camera setups?
Exactly. So every time I go to a different angle, every time it cuts, I shot from that angle for the entire scene most of the time. Even if I only go to it for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or whatever, I have that option of going to it whenever. Yeah.
What's the role of a producer?
Good question. There's tons of different kinds of producers, and it can mean a whole bunch of things. For the case of this short, our producer was anything we needed, she was helping coordinate. So our casting calls, our location, she was negotiating with the owners of those locations of how much we would spend on it. Our camera rentals, hiring all our crew, it was really a huge job to undertake. It's more of the managerial side, I guess you could say, but it's still creative because you're still doing those creative choices just in a more managerial standpoint, I guess. That would be a line producer. An executive producer sometimes just kind of oversees it all, more supplies the money sometimes. It can mean a whole bunch of things. Yeah.
So at the end it said something Hannah and then the author production.
Yeah.
So did you form a production company for this?
Yeah, we kind of just formed it just so when we were signing out for and renting equipment and stuff.
And is that typical for a short like this to form a company sort of?
Yeah, some people, since it was my first one, we just kind of were Hannah Powell Productions, we just kind of put it together really fast since we were on such a tight schedule. At this point, I have a production company now that's actually incorporated and everything, so for the future I'll use that, but for this one we just put it together really fast. Opened a business bank account and started going. Yeah.
So do you plan to just stick to shorts, or?
No. Ideally, I'd want to do a feature. It's just obviously more money, more time. And I do hope to get to that point shortly. We just, I feel like one more short would be good for me. Just one more time to practice with actors, use some of the techniques I've been learning in my directing for acting classes and stuff like that, unless a feature option came my way. But it just seems like just one more short, just to knock it out quickly, and then before I tackle a full feature. But a feature would be a ton of fun to do.
Do these tend to be your resume for the people who are thinking about hiring directors?
Yeah, I'm hopefully through this, a show that I'll edit or something will bring me on, and I can negotiate an episode to direct from this, and at least I have then stuff under my belt. it's nice, now that I have a short, I can say I am a director as opposed to that I want to direct it. At least I've done something. Is there any other questions? No one wants to go to work? Well, thank you guys so much. It was great. Thank you.